Do you ever wonder how tour players are able to hit the ball so far and straight from some really short and smooth backswings? It barely looks like they're even hitting the golf ball, yet it still goes miles. The reality, however, most amateurs try to swing harder, take the club further back, and it rarely leads to more distance. Or more importantly, that accuracy. In fact, it often does the opposite and leads to inconsistent contact, slices, or that dreaded high, weak shot. So in this video, I'm going to show you what actually works when it comes to hitting the ball longer, but also straighter. With the help of HackMotion, I'll be breaking down 2 simple changes that can simplify your driver golf swing and add more distance as well. Now, I can't promise you're going to hit the ball like Rory McIlroy and hit it over 300 yards every time, but what I can promise is that you will find that if you persevere and stick to the 2 things I'm going to show you, you will hit longer drives, but also straighter drives as well. So this golf swing that you can see here on the screen is exactly what we tend to see a lot of amateur golfers do, where they'll get that really overswing up to the top of the golf swing, get their wrist into what we call a lot of extension, and it encourages those high slices well off to the right. And at this hole here, hole 7 at Portrush, it's not ideal at all. So when we now take a look at the actual numbers on the screen, what we'll notice there is that on the HackMotion, at the top of the golf swing, although it's showing a green tick, it's stating there that at the top of the golf swing, my wrist angle, my lead wrist there is plus 17. So that indicates at the top of my golf swing, I'm getting a fair bit of extension. Now, when it comes to getting extension in your golf swing, backswing in particular, the more of this you have in your golf swing, if we were just to bring in now the actual 3D model and compare this either side to this camera here, the more extension I start to add, the more my club face is going to open. Now, when we make those bigger backswings, it's very hard if I was to do the opposite and get into a flex position, it's very hard for me to make a big swing, a too big a backswing. I can only go to here. But if I get more extension, I can really start to increase the length of the golf swing. And again, that opens the club face. So when you're trying to hit the ball much further, and also more consistently as well, but further in particular, and you try and make those much bigger golf swings, you are causing a lot of faults to take place, just from simply allowing your wrists to gradually increase and your lead wrist to move into more of that extension at the top of your golf swing. That extension at the top of your golf swing is only going to make you try and react in the downswing. You're either going to swing too quickly and leave the face wide open, just like I did there on that golf shot, or we're either going to come down into the golf ball, try and lean out the way, and give ourselves time to try and release the club head over. To time that, it's very difficult when you get it 1 in 20 shots, 1 in 30 shots. I can imagine for some of you it feels like it's fantastic. But the rest, the 19, 29 shots you've hit, aren't good at all. What tour players do so well is they're able to get that shorter backswing, more controlled backswing, and deliver a much more flatter wrist angle at the top of the golf swing. So let me just hit another shot now for you just to show you what I mean by this. So I'm going to make that shorter swing, just focus on a shorter swing, and just hit this golf ball. Now, although again on the HackMotion there it's showing at the top of the swing a red number, I'm not too worried about whether it's red or green. I'm more focused on the actual number itself. So the number there was -6. -6 indicates at the top of my golf swing, I actually had an ever so slightly flexed lead wrist position. So lead wrist being my glove hand wrist here at the top of the golf swing. So when we get a flatter lead hand at the top of the golf swing, also a shorter golf swing, that actually helps you square up the club face because you're less likely to open it from that added extension. In fact, you're more likely to close that club face down ever so slightly. Closing it down is from that flexion. Now you can see there when you take a look at the numbers here, at impact I've actually gone the opposite way. I've gone back to 12 degrees into the extension. That's what I tend to do. I tend to get a little bit too bowed at the top, and then I tend to neutralize things on the way down. That is something that I still work on today, just to make sure that I can keep that controlled, because if I was any more than that, that golf ball will probably send off too far to the right again. So what I want to make sure for you to help you get more accuracy, more distance, is going to come from two principles. Being able to shorten the golf swing is going to give you that consistency in your golf swing. You're not going to find that your wrists are breaking down too much and then everything else in your swing falls apart. But the second thing is, if you can focus on getting that flatter left wrist position at the top of the golf swing, that's going to make things much easier for you to square things up. When you take a look at the impact video there, you can see that I was pretty much able to hit the golf ball bang out the middle, maybe a touch being picky, ever so slightly out the heel. But if you can have the club face returning down to the golf ball squarer, you're more likely to hit the middle. Picture a golf ball here in the middle of the driver face here. If I was to bring this in now open, where's that more likely to hit? It's more likely to make contact out of the heel to start off with. Vice versa, the opposite. If it's too close, it's more likely to hit it out of the toe side of the golf club. So if we can allow for that club to return more square, that's going to give you a much better chance of hitting it out the middle. So we're not actually increasing your distance by swinging faster today. We're going to help you hit the ball further by implementing a better contact. So more control, more accuracy from controlling your wrist angle and the backswing, but that in return is going to help you square up the face and hit the golf balls more often out the middle, and that's where you're going to see that distance gain. Now, if you are interested in learning more about what the HackMotion sensor does, you can use the link in the description below along with the discount code if you would like to get one and discover how good this is for you as well. Or you can use the QR code on the right hand side of your screen if you are watching this on the big screen. Now, when it comes to the actual backswing and how we shorten this, one of the keys is to go nice and slow. So what we see so many golfers do is when they try and shorten their backswing, they find it really tricky to do simply because they move too quickly. Now, I want you to picture this. If you were to swing as fast as you can and you try to stop at the halfway point here on the way back, where do you think the club would actually finish? Would it finish here, or would it finish somewhere maybe up here? Let's see. Well, for me, when I try and do that, I've tried to stop directly at this point here, but my club finished up here. So when you take a look at that gap, that's an extra good foot higher in the golf swing that I've moved the club into. Without thinking about it, I've tried to stop at this certain point here, that parallel point, but I've moved further up. When you try and shorten your golf swing, you feel like it's going to go here, but you're still wanting to go a little bit quicker than normal because it's the driver. We want to get more speed on the golf club. Well, what's going to happen here is it's going to feel like you're in this position here, but when you go super quick, you could see it there. You could see that movement taking place of the club just before I got it to stop back in position. When I get into the top of the golf swing, when you get into the top of the golf swing, what I want us both to do is make our swing back with the sensation of two things: stopping much shorter, feeling like we're stopping shorter, but swinging slower as well. Those two things are going to help you properly shorten that golf swing into the right position. That's one, going to help you with the wrist angle that I'm going to explain next, but two, it's going to help you make a much shorter, much more compact golf swing. Just like that one there. So straight away there, that was nice and easy for me, just feeling that shorter golf swing, and that's another great drive down the middle. So key there for the first part is to shorten that golf swing, take the club back nice and slowly, what to you will feel like slower, and feel like you're really shortening the golf swing. So for me then, it felt like I was getting to pretty much where the lead arm reached parallel to the ground. For you, you may have to feel like you're going shorter because you're so used to swinging too long. A good checkpoint for this though is when you get to the top of the golf swing and you film yourself from this face-on view, is that the club reaches just before parallel to the ground, about this point here. So to get to that point, you're going to feel like you're swinging shorter, especially when you apply speed, you're going to go quicker. and further. Now let's move on to the second point, which is trying to get that flatter lead wrist position at the top of the golf swing. So as I mentioned at the start of the video, we tend to see too many golfers get into too much of this extended position. How we try and neutralize that is exaggerating this and feeling the opposite. So we actually want to feel ever so slightly more flexed as we start to take the club back. If we get so much extension here at the top of the golf swing, this hasn't all been formed right at the top of the golf swing. This has been a gradual increase from the start of the golf swing, making our way up to the very top. So what we want to do is calm down that movement on the way back to start off with, and then calm it down at the top of the golf swing as well. A gradual movement going the opposite way. The feeling of that gradual movement going the opposite way. So rather than the wrist getting into gradual extension up to the top of the swing, we actually want to feel like the wrist is going into a gradual flexed position, gradually increasing that flexion up to the top of the golf swing to feel that complete opposite motion. And when you start hitting shots, that's going to really help you neutralize things and get that flatter left wrist position. So during the takeaway, which is the main checkpoint really I like to check when I'm doing this action, or when I'm teaching students this as well in in-person lessons, is that as they take the club back, you'll always at the start of the golf swing have an ever so slightly extended position, as you can see on the screen there, showing plus 16 there just to begin with. Now, as you start to take the club back, amateurs will increase this, like I mentioned before. We want to reduce this. Once I take the club back and increase this extension, we can see what that does to the club face. We can see how it starts to open the club face up. The toe end of the club is staying behind the heel. So if I was just to do the opposite and allow for more of that gradual flexion to take place, where is the club face now? The club face now is pointing downwards. The toe end of the club there is ever so slightly ahead of the heel. So we actually want to encourage the feeling of shutting down that face, technically, because when we bow our wrist, our lead wrist, that encourages an ever so slightly more closed face. The more we encourage this to happen, the more closed the club face will feel. But if you're so used to doing the complete opposite, great drill for you to use to neutralize things. So now I take the club back to that first part of the golf swing. I'm allowing my lead wrist to gradually get into that flexed position. So for me here now, we can see that I'm exaggerating this and getting it as much as 15 degrees, minus 15 on the HackMotion here, minus 14 now in the flex position. So that's what it feels like to me when I get into that first part there. Feel versus real is totally different, of course, but that's the feel. You can obviously grip down the club and just get that sensation there as well, or you can practice this without the golf club and just practice that movement there. You can watch the HackMotion there just to check whereabouts this is heading. And if you're practicing this without the HackMotion, it's just simply this action here, where if you were to grip your hand, make a thumbs up like this here, your fingers would move towards the back of your wrist, just like this here. That motion there. So as you do that motion there, we're gradually adding that into the takeaway. That's the feeling for the backswing. Now, as you start to implement this, what you can do is close your eyes and try and get yourself into that position. Now on HackMotion, there is a setting that allows you to set it so that if you hit the actual number you're looking for the takeaway, it makes a noise. So that's a really good checkpoint for you to practice this, just to make sure you get that feel for getting into that position every time consistently. For me here, I'm just going to close my eyes, just try and get it into that position there. Check it on the HackMotion, just a little bit too much there. But as I'm rehearsing this, you can start to develop an understanding of what that feels like, yes, for your lead wrist, but for your trail wrist as well. Your trail wrist is going to work the opposite way. Your trail wrist is going to extend as your lead wrist flexes. So it's this action here taking place with both hands. When you grip the golf club and do this, good checkpoint once you get to the takeaway is the trail hand here is actually staying on top of your lead hand. and we get this extension, the lead hand gets on top of the trail. So trail hand on top of the lead, just for that first part of the golf swing. Now for this, I'm encouraging a wider motion rather than hinging and picking up the club too early. I'm actually encouraging the driver to brush along the ground a little bit, just to ensure I'm keeping a nice wide arc up to the top. That's going to help with speed and also power. So I'm doing this action here. Then I start to gradually increase this into that shorter swing. So I've got that shorter swing, feeling like I'm almost going to that halfway point in the backswing, just allowing this lead wrist here to feel that flex motion and the trail wrist to set back more so. So a little bit to the right on that one. It was a lovely strike though. I've still got quite a bit of distance out of that one. Not the longest, but it was finishing up at 319. Nice carry distance of 303. Club head speed is a little bit down from what I'm normally used to, but I was able to hit that right out the middle. Smash factor of 1.48 is excellent. That's the key whenever you're looking at a TrackMan GC Quad or any launch monitor, in fact, and you're practicing this. Have a look at the smash factor. How high can you get that number? The higher, the longer the golf ball will travel. Therefore, more distance, but because the smash factor increases, you're definitely hitting the golf ball out the middle more often. So those two things are going to give you way more consistency in terms of how accurate you are off the tee, hitting more fairways, and also that extra bit of distance on the side as well. So if you'd like to learn more about the HackMotion and get yourself one of these, you can use the discount code of Harry5 and check out the link in the description below. Or if you're watching this again on the big screen, you can scan the QR code over on the right-hand side of your screen right now. That'll take you straight to the product page and talk you through more about how this product works and how it can help you improve your golf. It's great for things like I've just done there to make sure I'm in the right angles in my wrists, but also ensuring that I'm making a much shorter golf swing. Comment down below if you'd like a video on this topic, talking to you in more detail about how they should work with the irons. I want to see at least 50 comments. If I get 50 comments, that'd be superb, and I will get that video done for you with the HackMotion as well. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out this video over here in the meantime if you're looking for more great tips like this one, as YouTube believes it's the best video for you to watch next.